All right, I'm starting in 3, 2, 1. Welcome in to, dare I say, a very special edition of Sport Ball.
For the first time ever, it actually is a special edition.
With me, as always, are my good friends Seth and Kyle, but you don't care about them. You hear them every week. A special guest has arrived.
Every week? We record this every week?
A special guest is here with us tonight. His name is Nick Cornell. Some say his pickup game is like, what, a poor man's Zach Collins, probably?
What? I play more than Zach.
Nick, how are you feeling? You're happy to be here? I'm assuming you're honored.
I am honored, absolutely. I've been away for many years, and I'm finally back. I think I did one episode years ago. It's good to be back, folks.
Well, I think the last time we did this.
I think, yeah, that's correct. So we're doing a 4-man weave tonight. We're bringing a very special NBA tiers draft, where we draft an 8-team roster to try to win the finals, and we have a budget, and players are worth a certain amount of money, and
$2 with Denny back in the day.
And Seth has come up with the dollar values and the budget himself, which we're all proud of him for. So that should be fun. That's the main part of this episode. But we did want to talk, first of all, in the intro about the Kevin Durant trade, because we haven't got a chance to talk about on this podcast since we stupidly recorded the day of the trade deadline, thinking, nothing else big is going to happen. That's on us, honestly.
The day before, actually, the trade deadline. I think.
Yeah.
And the Kevin Durant news broke about 5 hours later.
Well, and we didn't want to record on that Thursday because we're like, well, LeBron's going to set the record on Thursday, and we got to be locked in for that. And then he set the record on Tuesday, so we should have just recorded on that Thursday. But
our listeners in Belgium don't care about that. They only care that we didn't give them the results that they need. So Kevin Durant got traded.
He did.
One of the biggest trades in NBA history. This is top 10, top 15 player of all time getting traded in near his prime. Doesn't happen very often. Probably biggest trade since Shaq, I would imagine.
He's been saying Durant's in his prime for how many years?
Well, he hasn't exited yet. He's just he's a Walmart LeBron, really. So the trade was Kevin Durant and TJ Warren to the Suns. The Suns get back Bubba Warren, huge for them. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 firsts and 1 swap to the Nets. So I want to talk about the Suns first, because that's probably the biggest part of this deal as far as finals go. I think they're probably now the favorite in the West, maybe co-favorite with Denver. I think, obviously their offense should be unstoppable with Book, CP3, and KD. They are an iffy health bet, right? Because, KD has gotten injured this year. He's had a litany of injuries over the last couple of years, and CP3 has had trouble staying healthy down the stretch the last couple of playoffs. But what do you think, Seth? Do you think they have enough to get to the finals this year? Do you think they're the favorite in the West now?
I think it's between Phoenix and Denver for me in the West. Like you said, there's some injury concern, although Kevin Durant has shown this pattern probably more than any other player I can remember, where he has these moderate to severe injuries, comes back and immediately looks like himself.
The way you said moderate to severe, I was just thinking of a arthritis commercial or something.
If you have moderate to severe arthritis. So I feel like there's at least that, where I'm assuming he's on the court. I'm not worried about how the injury is going to affect his play. You still worried that he might re-injure the injury, or he'll have a new injury, right?
Yeah.
And so I just feel like hopefully for the Suns, the addition of Kevin Durant means that there won't be relying as much on Paul, and then CP3 won't break down as much as he has in previous years. I think that's what Suns fans have to hope. And with all of them healthy, I mean, you got to imagine that they're the favorite in the West, and they would certainly not be a team that I would want to see in the finals.
They are currently the betting favorite in the West, plus 235 to Denver's plus 390.
They do kind of match up with Denver pretty well too. Not that anyone can stop Jokic, but Aiden can certainly slow him down enough that you don't necessarily have to double him. It makes me worried for our boy Big Honey, Kyle, that this might have been the year he made the finals, and now Kevin Durant might be standing in his way.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about on the last podcast, kind of with the Dallas trade for Kyrie, but like this was the year that the West was, I feel like, as wide open as it's ever been. And ever since the trade deadline, it just looks like the path to the finals for any West team has gotten considerably harder.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Nick? Are you picking them in the West?
I think, again, assuming health, I would, but at the same time, if we're assuming health, I think the Clippers should be mentioned because I do think the Clippers, when healthy, are just as competitive. I mean, Kawhi's been insane when he plays this year. And in regards to the injury concerns, I did want to double check. Devin Booker's only played 33 games this year.
Yes, that's also a concern, yeah.
Again, if their roster's full strength, I think they're the most talented team, but
yeah,
I really don't know if that's a bet that I would make.
Do you worry about their depth though? I feel like,
was I the only one who was surprised they had to give up Cam Johnson in that trade as well?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's Kevin Durant.
Right. That's why I do want to talk about the Nets a little bit. Like, I actually like what they got. I mean, obviously, you have Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant. And
Ben Simmons.
10 months ago?
Right. And you lose them all. That's an unmitigated disaster, no question. But I think they did decently well. You're never going to get full value back on a superstar, but I like when you at least get a player back that you can build around. And I think Mikal Bridges is that player. And Cam Johnson, like you guys said, is certainly no slouch as well. They just are building a 3-and-D wing factory over there, which you can flip into anything in this league because that's like the biggest asset is to have a 3-and-D player. I mean, could Bridges be Jaylen Brown, with a bigger role? Maybe, or, Walmart Jaylen Brown. I mean, he already scored like 45 in one of his first games.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. I think, was it Kevin O'Connor who mentioned, like, it's funny to think about because the Nets kind of are built right now to be a superstar away from being a title contender, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, if they had Kevin Durant, they'd easily, I think, be the favorite in the entire NBA.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, what Mikal did with all the injuries in Phoenix this year, and I think he was averaging like 24 points per game or something over the month of January, right before the trade.
Yeah.
Like, he's shown that he's improved so much as a scorer. We've always known he's one of the best, if not the best, wing defenders in the NBA. They have, I think, a lot of promise, and they have now a bunch of draft capital as well that they've acquired to be able to flip. The New York's one of those markets where star players like to flock to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they've set themselves up very well for the future with having to deal with 3 superstars demanding trades in a span of 12 months.
I mean, like you said, despite the disastrous nature of how this went down, if you're a Nets fan, don't you feel better today than you did like at the start of this season?
You're probably happier in the short term. I bet they loved like the first win that the Nets got. They're like, yeah, fuck those guys. Like, we don't need them.
I mean, you saw Kyrie leave, and then immediately you had your rookie come in to start, Cam Thomas, and drop back to 40-point games. They didn't win all those games, but like that's exciting in and of itself. He's back into a bench role, unfortunately. But again, they have so much NBA bench level talent now that they could include in trades as well as draft capital to acquire, the next superstar to demand out of wherever their current situation is, that they could be a title contender now in the next 2 years.
Nick, dare I ask you if the current Nets team could at least be competitive in a first round series?
I mean,
let's say they're against the Heat, the Knicks, maybe.
I think they'd definitely be competitive. I don't know that I would think they would win a first round series.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be competitive against like the top 2, but anyone else maybe, right?
Are they out of the play-in at the moment?
They're 5.
They're 5. Okay. They'd be playing, I think, the Cavs right now.
That would be tough.
Yeah, that I don't see.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was going to make the quick point that it's kind of funny, like if you compare this team now of just like young wings that are exciting to watch and just kind of good vibes that the fans might be excited about to like the same team they were 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I actually think like they're in a better position
they are
now than they were then. Yeah. And they got like 3 or 4 years of like title hopes, right? And then now they just have even better assets, and they still have Spencer Dinwiddie. which they gave up like 4 years ago. So,
Right.
I mean, I like the position they're in. I think they could be fun to watch for a game or two, but I certainly would pick them to lose.
I agree.
In the first round.
Yeah, they took a nice little KD Kyrie detour, and now they're back to good vibes only, baby.
The problem is I don't think they're gaining any ground on any of the top 4 teams, which means they're only going to drop, which means their most likely opponents in the first round are like the Sixers, the Cavs, possibly the Bucks, right? Or something like that. So, or if the Knicks jump them, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little bit in no man's land right now, but I agree with y'all. Like, I think they've got some good pieces. The vibes are much better. And I mean, they got swept in the first round last year. So it's like, not really like they're going that much further down the standings than they had been with the roller coaster ride of Kyrie and KD. So,
I mean, to Kyle's point too about assets and just the future, like, and how you feel if you're a fan. As a Bulls fan, I feel better about their immediate future than I do about the Bulls. So, and that says a lot considering.
I mean, it's just the Bulls not making any moves at the deadline and attributing that fact to the fact that Kevin Durant and Kyrie both left the East, and them saying that the East is more wide open, and immediately their first game after that deadline being against the Nets and losing when they didn't have Mikal Bridges or Cam Thomas or Cam Johnson yet is just chef's kiss.
And honestly, if they really didn't make a move because they thought the East was wide open, then that is not only a fireable offense, it's an arrestable offense. All right, should we get into the main course? That was a little appetizer for everyone just waking up in Belgium. If you don't know, Nick, we have one Belgium listener, so we mention it every podcast, and it might have just been Matt when he was on vacation. We're not sure.
Might have been.
All right, international podcast.
Here are the rules. Seth, you can correct me on anything I have wrong. We are going to be drafting an 8-man team, and our goal is to win the finals this year. Current injuries do exist, as well as injury history. For example, Kevin Durant is injured right now, but we can expect him back. Zion Williamson is injured, and we're not sure if he's going to be back by the playoffs. And for instance, I may be less likely to pick, like I said, Chris Paul, because he has a recent history of getting injured in the playoffs and he's old, etc.
Tipping your hand a little bit.
We have a budget, and the players are ranked by dollar amounts. So we have $24 each. Players are in tiers starting at $7 for the best players, going all the way down to $2, and then $1 is anyone else you want. You do get $1 back if you draft Ben Simmons or Pat Bev, which I think is reasonable. Honestly, like it might be a bargain. You know what Pat Bev does for your locker room?
I can almost guarantee Pat Bev will be picked.
Also, apparently we're automatically disqualified if we try to pick Kyrie Irving. So
Seth, take it away.
Anything else to add, Seth, about your game?
No. I guess we could list off a couple, just because I know our listeners can't see our spreadsheet. So the $7 players are Giannis, Jokic, and Curry. $6 players, we got the likes of Kevin Durant, Doncic, Tatum, Morant, Embiid, LeBron. So just to give you an idea of who the players are in the top couple tiers, and we'll just try to list out the prices as we draft. And the order of the draft is going to be a snake, and starting with Sam, then Nick, Kyle, and then myself at the back end of the snake.
Now, I did randomize draft order myself, and I got first pick. Haters will say all right. Well, this is going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm going to take okay, so I thought about this a lot throughout the day when I was supposed to be doing work. And I really thought, if I'm going to get a 1 to star my team with the first pick, I think I want someone who has at least been to the finals before. There's personal preference, I'd like to see them have done it. So for me, it was really between Giannis and Steph. Not that Jokic might not make it this year, like we just said, but just to be safe. And since Steph is injured right now, I'm just going to be safe and take Giannis.
Fair.
No reaction.
Can't go wrong with that, right?
There's speech. I mean, he's the best player in the league right now, right? So
we're one pick in. I'm already scrambling. I don't know what to do at this point.
I gotta completely redo my draft board now.
Kyle's gonna say this is going exactly as they planned when he begged us before the pod for anyone to tell him who they're picking.
Because I knew who the first two were. Nick's gonna throw a wrench.
Did you know?
Yeah, let's see. Nick might take.
I wasn't expecting you to say between Giannis and Curry though.
Yeah,
So,
Nick's gonna take Ben Simmons first. I can feel it.
I need the extra $1. No, so I might be throwing a wrench into this, and I might be making a mistake. I'm gonna take Jason Tatum at 2.
Oh,
Just throws a wrench and everything.
well, you knew he wasn't making it back to you with Seth getting the turn.
Exactly, and also, I mean, he's, for those listening, he's priced at $6 instead of $7, so I'm saving $1 for later. I think Jason Tatum is going to give me, I mean, especially with the finals experience he recently accrued, I think he's going to give me the most on both ends of the floor outside of Giannis. And so, yeah, I'll go with Tatum. And that might, I mean, Jokic is incredible, but that's what we're doing.
Kyle is in shambles right now.
I was really banking on Giannis and Jokic being gone at this point.
Well, now you can take Jokic if you want.
You almost have too many choices now.
Now I'm just worried about my second pick because I'm going to be in another predicament because this is not going anywhere that I expected it to. Holy shit. Well, I didn't even have either of the other $7 players on my sheet because I just assumed.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Wait, how did you assume all three $7 players?
Well, I was skipping one of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously. I'm just going to stick to the plan for now and see what the hell happens. So I'm going to take Kevin Durant with my first pick.
Can't go wrong with that.
We want finals experience. We got it.
If Seth wants two $7 players back to back, he can now have them. Neither of which can play defense. You know he hates that. That's why he thinks Anthony Davis is the most valuable player in the league because he can play defense.
But can he?
Can he even play it this
The man is going to have a paper cut in the first quarter.
I do not think Anthony Davis is the most valuable player in the league. Interesting. Okay.
This is honestly a barn burner already. If
It
we don't
is.
get
Jokic falling before already.
if we don't get featured on TikTok for this, I don't know what will get us there.
Wow. How do we not have a TikTok account?
I don't know. Shout out Belgium. See if we can get there.
We should make Matt our content man.
No way. He can't even spell. We mentioned Matt once a podcast, by the way, so in case you're wondering. I know Nick doesn't listen, but he loves to be a guest.
Big sport ball.
I'm just vamping right now while Seth takes 20 minutes to decide to take the two best players.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be what's going to happen. I mean, I'll just let everybody, the fans out there, into my mindset and thought process here. So I feel like I definitely have to take Jokic. I think, he's the best player left on the board. And I didn't think I would have the chance to draft him, to be honest. So I'm imagining having Jokic basically running the half-court offense, at least as he does. Can you imagine having Jokic and then Steph running off screens and Nikola finding him?
No.
Good shots and
Why would he ask that?
Obviously, Kyle can't imagine things.
Kyle can't see anything. On the other hand, how much is it going to hamstring me to have spent $14 on only two players?
Well, also, your biggest qualm with everyone else's team is always they don't have enough defense, and you're going to have, at the point of attack and at the rim, the worst defenders available for this price.
Right. So
I'm inside of his head right now.
I don't know where the hell
He's in his own head.
Where is he going to go?
I think you have maybe 20 seconds to make the pick at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I often say that, especially when it's like an all-star team facing off another all-star team. I feel like you should value defense because you're having to defend world-class players.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, who else am I going to draft then? If I
haven't even thought about this whole time. It's been 2 minutes.
I mean, if I wanted to lean defense, right, I could take Jokic and then I don't know,
Okay, why don't you just take Jokic and then think about who you're taking next?
Well,
I'm just gonna take Jokic and Steph.
Okay, there we
he's
go.
not happy about it.
No, he's not. I can't wait to eviscerate his team.
Oh my God, dude.
He'll have to take Anthony Davis now. He's the most valuable
his
player.
next two players are gonna be Pat Bev and Simmons.
Defense only, baby. All right, Kyle. You know what you have to do.
I don't though. Because no matter who I take next, I feel like the third player I was planning on taking, the way these have already shaken out, is not making it back to me in 4 picks. So in that regard, I'm going classic Stogie Boy pick right here with a $5 player in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Give me someone that is more than happy to not have to have the ball in his hand, share the ball, plays immaculate defense, and is probably the most improved player, could win the award. You know, he should have won it probably the last 2 years and should win it this year. Honestly, could be an MVP candidate if you ask the right person, which is me.
You are the right person. Now, let me ask you this. Do you have any qualms about his only playoff experience? He played very poorly.
No.
Okay.
Can I ask you, do you have any qualms about how long his name looks on the back of a jersey?
Great question.
No.
Okay.
Honestly, I wish it was longer.
All right.
Maybe someday he'll have a son and name him Shai, and then he could have Gilgeous-Alexander Sr. on the back.
All right. Solid pick, Kyle. You got KD and Shai. Nick, what are you looking at? You have Tatum so far.
So I actually did come into this with a bit of a strategy that I'm going to stick to. My original plan was to take Giannis at the 2, but that obviously changed to Jason Tatum. But I'm going to stick with the rest of the plan. I will be coupon clipping at the beginning of this draft.
Wow, Pat Bev.
If only. No, I'll be coupon clipping. I will be saving money.
He just bought a house, folks.
And I do want to reiterate that I'm a Bulls fan, because it might come across weird when I take Jaylen Brown as my second pick. I'm literally just building the Celtics roster.
He's taking the Jays.
Derek White in round 3.
But Jaylen Brown here is a $4 pick. And so I've spent 10 of my $24, and I have 2 of the best wings in the NBA who play on both sides of the court. So
and have the chemistry.
And they have the chemistry.
Wow. Right? You know, I like that a decent amount, Nick. And I was actually considering Jaylen with my next pick, so I'm a little upset that you took him.
Maybe he would.
Maybe I was in an attempt to appear unbiased. I went too far the other way and was undervaluing Celtics players.
Clearly.
Really backfired for him.
He really got in his own head.
He did. He's still in his own head right now, and I'm there too. Now, for my next pick, I already have Giannis. What I would like to add is a little shooting. Has no one taken Steph? Oh, you did. Okay. So I think
I'm glad you're paying attention.
Giannis' only weakness is shooting, as we know. I am thinking about Luka, but how much spot up shooting is he going to do? And then his defensive liabilities, we know. And I'm not sure I'm getting the most out of Luka by having the ball in Giannis' hands. I think I'm going to go with Devin Booker, because in my eyes, he's like a way better version of Chris Middleton, and he doesn't look like a fish. So I feel like we've already seen that kind of like mid-range three-point shooter savant work so well with Giannis, right? Obviously, he won a championship with Chris, so I think this should just be an upgraded version of that. And Booker can sneaky play some very good defense.
And to mention too, I feel like you saw this a little bit earlier in Booker's career, but I do think he has the potential to run a lot of offense like Middleton.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that's a really good pairing.
I like that pairing.
You're on the clock again.
Holy shit! You know, I've never liked
Seth and him. We're not prepared for this at all.
They don't compare.
I've never liked.
I was
Snake.
prepared.
They don't have any legs. All right. So
Middleton.
Oh.
So far, I have spent $12. Okay. I need a point guard and I need a center. Although Giannis, as we know, can play a little bit of center. I think I'm going to go with how much is he? Okay. Yeah. I think I'm going to go with Drew Holiday. I believe he's listed at $3, which in my opinion is a bargain. Well, we know Drew can win a championship with Giannis since he already has, and he threw the most insane alley-oop that anyone's ever seen in the finals when he threw that he didn't need to at all to Giannis, and he got fouled to clinch the win. He's better than Chris Middleton, in my opinion. He's already the second best player on the Bucks.
Are you going to say that about every player?
Giannis is also better than Chris Middleton, and I was wondering. So I basically have the Bucks now, except Booker instead of Middleton. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
To be very clear, when I said I had a strategy and you screwed it up by picking Giannis, my strategy was to take Giannis and Drew with my first 2 picks.
But he took Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and said he likes to build the teams that are actually in the NBA.
Am I going Robert Williams with my next?
I don't think that's a question.
I fancy with Mike Muscala.
Ooh.
Ooh.
No, with my next pick, I was going to go Drew Holiday, and I do have a pick, but I'm just don't want to make it because it's one of the more expensive players. But again, my team right now is Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, 2 wings who can defend, who can score, and who can, to some degree, initiate offense. So I'm going to pair him with the center, and I'm going to take Joel Embiid. And I now have 3 of the best defenders in the entire league.
That was my pick. That's who I was.
God, honestly.
If I didn't pick Shea and I picked Embiid, was Shea making it around to me? It sounds like he was.
Probably.
Yeah, probably.
No, it's fine.
Honestly, I love all of our teams so far.
There's a lot of good players in the NBA.
All right.
Pat Bev's still on the board.
Pat Bev's still on the board. Kyrie Irving's still on the board. If anyone wants to just dip out of the draft early.
Going. Tempting. Well, Embiid was going to be my pick. I was going to, be top tier defensive and offensive, but that is out the window. So now I need to try and think who I want for center. All my other players after Embiid were bargain players, obviously. And I just don't know if there's anyone. I don't want to rely on Anthony Davis. I don't think Zion's going to, be back or fully healthy. And I also don't love that fit with Kevin and Shea.
Yeah, Zion's a tough bet right now, right?
Oh, man. So I guess I'm going to go with a shooting guard, one of the best three-point shooters in the league, one of the best defenders in the league at the same point and the same way. And I'm going to take Desmond Bane for $3.
I had my eye on him as well.
Yep.
I had my eye on those biceps from a mile away.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think, he's kind of in that middle tier cost at $3, but one of the best 3-and-D guys you can get. Okay, so
it almost feels to me like the new Klay Thompson.
Kind of. I can see it.
All right. Well, I had 2 $7 players, Jokic and Steph, to start off. So I'm going to kind of get on the other side of the balance sheet here. And obviously,
get money back.
Nick took 2 of my Celtics players, so I got to make sure I get one of them. And it's kind of a no-brainer when you're a little bit lacking on defense. So I'm going to take Marcus Smart for $2 here.
There it is.
And then
Marcus Smart.
Hopefully that will alleviate some of my defensive concerns. And obviously you can help kind of run the floor and still a competent 3-point shooter. Mm-hmm. And then I think I'm going to take my favorite $1 player. I'll be the first one to take a $1 player here. Okay. And that is Josh Giddey.
Oh, I like that.
Interesting. A rookie, second year player.
We're trying to win the finals?
No playoffs experience. You think he's ready?
Sure.
You're good with turnovers, yeah?
Well, I mean, he's not going to be having as deep of a playmaking role as he has now because I have Jokic mostly doing the playmaking. But I think he's got versatile skills as a passer, which is going to fit into my offensive strategy where we've got a lot of movement and you need smart players who can make good passes. and he can score and shoot and defend decently. So
the only thing is here, there's two things. I don't appreciate the amount of shitting that's going on Timothy Chalamet. And two, I don't know if you've been watching Thunder games recently, but if you pick Josh Giddey now, it's kind of written in stone that you have to pick Kenrich Williams at some point because they have one of the most immaculate two-men game, I'm pretty sure, in the NBA somehow. So with your next pick, I'll announce it for you.
And he's Nick Collison. He's like the locker room guy, you know? Seth, are you at all worried that you don't have a wing stopper yet? Or do you think Marcus will guard up for you?
No, I mean, I considered getting a 3-and-D guy. I had my eyes on Giddey, and he was somebody who like I knew I wanted as one of my $1 players. And I feel like there's enough wing stoppers in the league now where even if all three of you take a bunch before it comes back to me, there'll still be some options for me to take. So I just wanted to prioritize the person that I would have been more disappointed if someone else had snagged him.
Fair.
I guess it's on me then. I want to get a center. And the thing is, I don't think there's any center that I could really get that's fully stopping Embiid, that's fully stopping Jokic, obviously. But I want someone that does very well with rim protection, both on the court and off, as well as can hit threes.
Protecting the rim off the court?
Think about it.
Someone's got to do it.
And in that regard, I'm going to take Miles Turner, the odometer himself.
The odometer.
For a nice $3.
I like that. A little shooting, a little rim protection. All right. Nick, you're up. Okay. You have the Celtics plus Joel Embiid so far.
I will say we were just looking at his screen, and I think he's thinking of picking Kenny Lofton Jr. with his next pick.
I mean, I was literally just looking at, okay, what's a competitive team in the West so I can look at their role players.
Yeah.
And like who might cost less. And I pulled up the Grizzlies roster, and my goodness, Kenneth Lofton Jr.'s picture from Louisiana.
He was in the Rising Stars game, and he did not look like he should be in an NBA uniform.
He's sneaky, though. How is he sneaky? You hear him coming a mile. All right. Point being, so I have Tatum and Brown and Embiid. I have defense. I have scoring. I don't have a lot of ball handling and a lot of initiating offense, but I'm going to take one more kind of mid-range cost player, and I'm just going to lock down all of the best 3-and-D players, and I'm going to take Mikal Bridges.
He was
continuing my playoff and finals experience. I think I have enough of sharing the ball, enough of people who can at least get their own shot, and I have an insane defensive lineup. So I'll take Mikal.
Love that, honestly. All right. Now, my main qualm with my team so far. So I have Giannis, Booker, and Drew. I feel a little light on 3-point shooting. Obviously, Booker's a good shooter, but he takes less threes than you think, doesn't he? And I know the Bucks have always tried to surround Giannis with shooting. So I know one player I'm going to take for sure, but I don't want to see his name. I don't want to see his name in the 4th round. I'm thinking about taking LeBron, to be honest. I don't know if that's like crazy because
that's ball handling.
I know. I do feel like he could obviously he can play with another superstar. Anthony Davis, the most valuable player in the league.
I can't believe Luka hasn't been drafted.
I know. And also I'm just staring at Luka as well.
The prices play into that, obviously, but it also kind of tells you about, I don't know.
Right. He's
not giving you much on defense. He's not.
Yeah.
Is he going to fit with those other guys that you got?
If you already have a superstar, it feels like Luka is a tougher fit, right, than some other players. So if you've already taken a different superstar, I don't know quite how he might fit in.
I have an interesting question because you said you were considering LeBron. I'm like honestly curious if LeBron were on like a competitive team this year and he was going to be going deep in the playoffs. What do you think he can still give you on the defensive side?
I think he can dial it in like for the playoffs. I think he can still give, certainly not at his peak, but could he give 80% of his peak for the whole playoff run? That's what I would be worried about if I was drafting for sure, And also if I draft him at $21 and we only have 24. So that is pretty close to budget.
Quick maths.
I would have to probably take Ben Simmons or just take Kyrie and leave after 6 players. So I don't think I'm going to be able to take LeBron, unfortunately. Oh man, it's just tough.
This didn't go any way that I expected it to
go. Your budget just goes so much quicker than you think it will.
All right. God, am I going to do it? All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Anthony Edwards because
I knew he was going to do it.
I was thinking about taking Andrew Wiggins for like a kind of a big wing, who can shoot. But if I'm going to do that
himself this year,
right? And if I'm going to do that, then why not just take Anthony Edwards, who is better? Now, of course, he's very, very young, right? He got his first taste of playoff experience, and he was awesome. And I think fitting in with this veteran team of players that have been to the finals before, I think we'll have to take it easy on what does he say he loves? Like chicken wings or something? But I think he'll lock in. I think he'll lock in for the playoff run with this team of veterans. I'm hoping I can count on that.
And that he can develop a relationship quick with Devin Booker by playing video games together.
See, we're not going out at night. This playoff run, we're staying in and playing video games. All right, and
eating wings.
Maybe
he's got to have greasy controllers, dude.
He's 23. He can eat all the wings he wants. So now I need one more player in my starting lineup. He'll be a $1 player named Kevin Huerter. Because
fuck you, dude. He was my first $1 pick. He was going to be. God damn.
Obviously, like I said, I'm starved for shooting.
Sniped on Kevin Huerter of all people.
Kevin Huerter is basically the best shooter in the league these days, and he's sneakily 6'8". Like I feel like people don't realize he can hold up on the defensive end. So I really don't think he's going to be defensive liability like other shooters might be. And we've seen this year, right, with an increased role in the Kings, him and Sabonis. And
they'd be great.
Yeah,
I love watching the Kings, dude. I love watching. Honestly, their entire starting 5 is so great.
So fun. And I think my team will just be so fun to watch with Red Velvet and Ant on it. So I think I'd be, happy cheering for those players too. I'll be playing my home games in Seattle, by the way. I don't know about you guys, but I want to give the city, another team.
Respect. All right. So I guess I am up again. And at this point, I do need some amount of bulk. But I'm down to $5 and I have 4 spots to fill. And I don't think I want to use, a $2 bid here.
While Nick is still thinking, to respond to Sam's pick of Kevin Huerter, he was also on my list, and former Kwame Brown.
Current Stone
traded to Kyle.
It's been great. Love it.
Has he been slumping for you, Kyle? It looks like he's
he had 2 really good games once you traded him to me. He slumped for about a week and a half, and about 3 games before the All-Star game, he was back on the wagon. So he's back on it.
Because I thought he was going to be. I thought he was going to be top of the league in 3-point field goal percentage, but he's like 39th.
He slumped. Yeah. He started slumping, so he's back on them, like I said.
Once we get him in the locker room around our guys, though, I have no problem thinking he's going to go right up back to 45%.
All right, so I've made my choice for a $1 point guard. And
Kevin Love.
It's not Kevin Love, shockingly, because he's $2. Somehow Kevin Love is $2.
Kevin Love is $2.
That was a relic from when we did
Miami,
like 4 years ago.
The Cleveland Cavaliers just bought him out and it didn't cost $2. All right, with $1 for my starting point guard to win the finals, I will be taking Mike Conley.
So veteran presence.
He can still play, and while he's not great on the defensive side at this point, I'm putting him with Tatum, Brown, Embiid, and Mikal Bridges. So,
and what's sneaky is like people don't realize you're left-handed, and you can go by him sometimes. The
left hand always gets him, man. Always gets him.
So why Manu was so good.
All right, well, I think this next pick is easy for me. As you can see, I'm going hardcore offense, but also very defensive minded at the same time. I'm really trying to be balanced about this. And I don't think that, or I think my next pick sticks in that mold. So give me that boy from the North, Scotty Barnes.
Oh,
for a cool $2.
I love my boy Scotty. Now, are you all worried about a slight sophomore slump he's been having?
No, because I mean, look who's around him. He's got Shea, Bane, and Kevin Durant around him. So he's honestly more there for the defense.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if any of those other guys are off the floor, I'm confident in Scotty also, putting up the offense that's needed.
Yeah. And he's just on such a weird team now. Where it's
he really is.
A bunch of people just exactly like him. I think he'll fit better on your team.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You said, do you have concern about the sophomore slump? I don't know how a player like that finds their place in the NBA when they're playing with players who fill the exact same role.
Exactly, yeah.
When Van Vliet's out there shooting 20-plus shots a night on 22% field goal, Siakam doing the same thing at a much better efficiency. But, I mean, there's not enough shots for him. But at the same time, we've seen him be able to do that when given the opportunity, when those players have been injured as much as they have. So,
yeah, and I think if they want to develop Scotty as, a ball handler, which it doesn't seem like they do right now, but I think that would have been the smart thing to do, right? That's what he seemed to be able to do as a rookie.
Yeah.
I do think they're doing a bit of a disservice by how much Van Vliet has the ball, and he just doesn't get the reps.
Yeah, I mean, I was really hoping for either Siakam or Van Vliet to be traded at the deadline, as they were rumored to see what both him and OG with a little bit of an expanded role. So, I love the fit, though, with the rest of to round out my starting five.
I like that.
I want to Seth for back-to-back.
He's not prepared. Give him another 10 minutes. He might come up with his pick.
He's watching replays of the song.
After your next pick, Seth, let's go over how much we've all spent on our starting five and have for our 3 bench spots.
Good idea.
Yeah, good idea. And forgive me if I'm not fully ready. I mean, I'm on my way to making my pick, but I have been keeping track of who's picked who, crossing out the players that have already been picked, adding up everybody's how much
like a trophy for this or something?
I would like a trophy.
His job?
Since when is this my job? Okay, so all right, I think I'm gonna I don't know if the first 5 players that I pick are actually gonna be my starting lineup.
Sure.
But
I kind of feel the same way.
Yeah. I think with my next pick, I'm gonna spend $2 on drum roll, please. I'm going to spend $2 on Brook Lopez.
Nice. I was thinking about getting him to put the band back together, so to speak.
Yeah.
The Bucks with that someone better
than
Milwaukee
big 3.
So I like having the way that Brook and Giannis play together, right? Being able to do that with Jokic and have some rim protection along with Jokic in the lineup. And that way, if I'm playing against an Embiid or a Giannis or some of those bigger players, I have the option of putting Lopez on them for rim protection or just for Lopez to roam over and protect the rim, even if Jokic is the primary defender on the big. And then obviously Brook can still spread the floor and shoot from 3 at a high pace. So I'm not losing anything on offense. So after 5 players, all of us have spent $19 except Nick has spent $20.
I throw cash around.
Sam, do you want to read out the lineups, our starting 5 as it is right now, while I decide who my next pick is going to be?
I would love to. Currently, my starting 5 is Giannis at the 5, Anthony Edwards at the 4, Devin Booker at the 3, Drew Holiday at the 1, I guess, and then Kevin Huerter at the 2. Nick has Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on the wings, and Embiid at center, Mikal Bridges at the 3, and then Mike Conley at point guard. Kyle has Kevin Durant at his positionless position. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander running the show. He has Desmond Bane on the wing, Miles Turner protecting the rim for him, and then Scotty Barnes is his 4 or 3 maybe. Right. Seth has Nikola Jokic and Steph Curry as his point guard and center. Marcus Smart, Josh Giddey rounding out the wings, and then Brook Lopez as his other center, who we might not start.
Giddey's holding down the starting spot, though, it sounds like.
And there's no way he's ready after all that to pick.
I'm ready.
He was listening.
I don't have any players on the same team in real life yet. And I do like that idea of building that chemistry. And I need a large wing defender who can also play some offense and has shown that he's really good offensively matched up with Jokic because he cuts and he crashes the boards and Jokic can find him. So give me Aaron Gordon for $2.
I like that a lot. So when Seth originally made this sheet, Aaron Gordon wasn't on. I was like, oh my God, I can get Aaron Gordon for $1. I'm definitely doing that. And then unfortunately, before we started, he added him to the $2. So not as much value, but still a value, I think.
I had that exact same thought about a minute ago when I Googled the Nuggets roster. And also, if you ever look, Aaron Gordon's picture on Google, it looks like he just smoked a huge blunt.
Yeah, Aaron's chilling for sure. So that's good to have in your locker room, Seth. Just a chill guy, good for morale.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great fit. He was a borderline all-star this year, honestly.
He's been great. I feel like a lot of everyone outside of Jokic is kind of being overlooked in regards to how they're playing this year. Like, I feel like Jamal Murray is kind of back to being Jamal Murray that we've known, and no one's saying anything about it for the most part.
We're too scared to.
Right, yeah. And Michael Porter Jr. has really bought into that role that we kind of expected him to be in. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons, right, that I think outside of Jokic, we still think that Denver is one of those best options to come out of the West.
That's why it makes me so sad that the Suns got KD. I mean, it's exciting, but for Jokic, like, this was probably his best chance he's had so far.
I'm going to spoil things and say that Nick's looking at Harry B's on his computer right now.
Just one of them specifically.
And with my next pick, I was going to go with a dollar player, but I think he might still make it around to me.
Dennis Schroeder?
Don't tempt me. No, I'm going to go with a $2 player here. I love the energy that he's going to bring. Should have probably won the 3-point contest this year. Give me Buddy Hield.
Love to have a shooter off the bench like that.
You love an overbite, don't you?
Now, I will warn you that I read the other day that Buddy Hield has played the most games in NBA history without ever making the playoffs.
Take him off my team right now.
But that's just because he hasn't made your team yet. So, and he's probably gonna do it this year with the Kings. Knock on wood.
Buddy Hield's not with the Kings.
Oh yeah, so you're right. He's not gonna make. Oh, that's so sad.
The Pacers they're on track to make it right now.
Okay.
To be clear, you do run a basketball podcast, correct?
No.
Excuse me.
It could be any sports with balls. We're too spread out. All right, Nick, who do you take with your next pick?
Well, contrary to what Kevin
O'Connor.
Contrary to what Kevin O'Connor just broke on Twitter, I am not picking Harrison Barnes with my next pick.
I need to go learn his Twitter.
Lowe's has been breaking these picks right before we take them.
Well, to be clear, I mean, the list that Seth made doesn't have the $1 players, right? So basically what I'm doing at this point in the draft with the budget that I have is just Googling every NBA roster and trying to find people who aren't on his list.
Right.
So anyway, to follow that up, I'm going to take my last $2 player because then I only have enough for $1 players. But at this point, I have Mike Conley as my starting point guard. And I said that was okay because we don't need to play defense with him when he has the lineup around him that we have. So I'm going to bring some more playmaking, scoring, and a little bit more defense off the bench. And I'm going to take my third Celtic and take Malcolm Brogdon for $2.
Love that.
Also, Wahoo Wah. He went to Virginia and UVA rules.
Honestly, I would just start Brogdon over Conley at this point.
What we can talk about that. We'll figure that out.
Just make sure it doesn't affect the locker room.
Exactly.
I mean, at the end of this, we have to go through and just confirm our starting fives anyway. So
all right. That was a good pick, I believe, Nick. For myself, I am currently starting Giannis at the 5, but that is not sustainable for him to play the 5 for an entire playoff run. So I need a center. I need someone who can shoot threes so they can play center along with Giannis on the court. And I need someone who can hold up in center by themselves for a few minutes themselves.
Robin Lopez.
So I'm going to take Al Horford. We might take every player on the Celtics. I think Al and Giannis, if they're playing together, can fit like Robert Williams and Al Horford, where Al can kind of defend the big guy. And
Rick Lopez.
No, I'm talking about Robert Williams and Al Horford. Celtics. Time Lord, as he's colloquially known.
Robin Lopez.
So on the Celtics, they had that genius thing where they had Al Horford on the center and they would have Time Lord help on a 4 3-point shooter. I can do the same thing with Giannis and Al. So I think that could work pretty well.
And I'll throw this out there too. Al Horford is essentially has the same strengths and weaknesses, I would argue, or similar at least, that Brook Lopez does. So you're going to put that with Drew and Giannis, and that's already been proven to win the finals.
Exactly. I did want Brook, but Seth already took him, so I'm taking like Walmart Brook a little bit, but it's okay. So now I just kind of need a bench player. I'm looking around, and I gotta say I don't like love what I see. I can take one more $2 player, so I think I might go ahead and do that. You can never have too much 3-and-D, and really I don't have that much right now, to be honest. So it's time for either Wiggins or Jeremy Grant, and I'm just gonna hope that Wiggins can come back to himself. I mean, he was the second best player on a finals team last year, which I think we were all pretty flabbergasted to see. So I'm going to take him off the bench and just hope that he continues to recover from his injury the rest of this year and returns to his shooting form from last year.
Remember when he was traded for D'Angelo Russell and a first-round pick?
Yeah, that was at the time. Everyone felt like they loved that too for the Timberwolves. And it's like,
it's just because he was friends with Carl, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was not even snipped in this discussion, by the way.
So, if Wiggins needs to be my second best player, so be it.
And we're on the Nick.
All right. So I have 2 spots left to fill and $2 left to do it. I could take Pat Bev
and have $3.
And have $3, and that is tempting. But I've been looking at role players, and I think there's people who would fit well on this team. I have Conley and I have Brogdon, so I think I have playmaking enough. And so I'm going to take someone who, in this exercise, the one thing that I don't think we have to consider because it just wouldn't make any sense in this context is their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Tobias Harris. Because I think every time people talk about him,
disgusting,
they talk about how his contract is a bad deal.
Yeah.
But that doesn't come into play here. And he is a great overall player on both sides of the ball. And he has chemistry with Embiid. So Tobias Harris.
Nice. You're going to have to get Boban Marjanovic too, so you can get Toby and Bobby back
together.
Oh,
my God. Get our own podcast going again.
All right. I think I'm at $21. 2 players left to go. So I'm thinking here, I probably take my last $2 player. And I'm thinking I'm going to take a center just to have a center come off the bench. I like the shooting options that I already have, so I'm not really too worried about that. So in that regard, coming off the bench to be my backup center, I'm going to go with Jared Allen.
I love Jared. Can you share with the listeners what he said about Kevin Love when he was asked if he knew that he was going to get bought up?
Yeah, certainly. So when asked, once he found out if he knew that Kevin Love asked for the buyout, right, before he left Philly after their last game before the All-Star break, Jarrett came back and said, you know what? I was told he was going for milk and cigarettes, and he just never came back.
See,
so we need that in the locker room.
You need jokes flying if you're going to make it all the way to the finals. You know what I mean? You need someone to keep it light. I like that. I mean, he's honestly better than Miles Turner, I feel like, at scoring, right? He's better at everything but shooting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that.
And he's used to playing right next to another 7-footer.
Right.
So
that's true. Very true. Honestly, Turner and Allen would be a good fit together.
That'd be great, I think.
Yeah.
Your last 2, Seth.
All right. So I have $21 spent, which means I can take a $2 player and a $1 player, or 2 $1 players and have $1 to keep with me.
For a McChicky.
Or take Ben Simmons and Pat Bev and have $3.
Now that's really what a McChicky costs these days. So
that's ridiculous. McDonald's sucks.
So, gosh, it's hard to think. So some of the $2 players that were left, Bojan Bogdanovic.
Well, $2 players are too good to be like a bench player, almost like they don't fit like a role as well.
Christian Wood. Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton. He's got finals experience. but do I need another big when I have Brook Lopez and Jokic already? Cade, but obviously he's injured still. We've got Golden State people I could match up with Steph, with Poole and Draymond, but I think ultimately I'm going to go with a German boy named Franz.
Dennis. Oh,
man, I was gonna pick him next.
I was gonna say Dennis Schroeder.
I almost feel like he's like the best player available left, or like I don't know.
No way. Luke is still on the board.
So I mean, we can score. The statements.
I mean, the $2 players, you know, like, I mean, obviously he's young, but he's just going to be getting better, you know? I mean, I don't know, like he's better than most of those players, right? That are $2.
Probably better than LaMelo.
Certainly better than Kevin Love. Certainly better than Rudy Gobert. Can you imagine?
No.
I like that, Seth. He's a good connector off the bench, you know?
Thank you. Yeah. I think between Franz and Giddey, I have a lot of kind of secondary playmaking beyond Jokic. And
I've always said that Franz gets me giddy anyways.
and then I think I still have plenty of shooting and defense. So I've got one more pick to go. And I really think I need to get a 3-and-D guy wing. I've been trying to decide who is the best 3-and-D wing left. And this player who I'm going to take is not somebody who's a proven finals player, but, you know, that's what I've got Steph for. So I think I'm going to take Devin Vassell.
Yeah, I knew that's what you were going to say.
Really?
He's good. Yeah.
You know me
I
so
actually
well.
saw him play during the preseason in San Antonio, live and in person, and he jumped off the court. It's just by far the best player on the court.
Yeah, I think we all thought going into this season that Keldon Johnson would be their best player, but it's been Devin.
Yeah, he's shooting 40% from 3 this year. He is averaging 19 points a game. He's obviously really young. He's 22. He's 6'5", so he's not maybe a big wing, but he's a big guard and plays really good defense. So I like having him on my team. A little bit of young playmaking, athleticism, and knockdown shooter. So that will round out my roster.
I like that.
To if I may, real quick, to comment too on your last two picks. One thing that's kind of fun about this, actually, I feel like, is just thinking about these guys in the context of really competitive, like meaningful basketball.
Yeah.
And so Seth's team, right? He has Josh Giddey, Franz Wagner, and Devin Vassell. Those are three guys who, like, I don't think have had the chance to play meaningful basketball really yet, but they will be so much fun to watch.
They just feel like winners already, right?
Devin's like
They
one of my
really
favorite young guys in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got the confidence to play on a finals team right now.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and so we just thrust them into this environment where we think they're going to excel.
So that gives me my last pick. I think I have $1 left. I kind of screwed myself a little bit because my $1 player I was planning on going with, I wasn't planning necessarily to go with Jarrett Allen with my previous pick, and I was going to take Walker Kessler as my $1 pick and have another shooter or point guard or something from the $2 range, but I didn't really love anyone I saw. So that's why I had to go with Jarrett. So with my last pick, and can someone correct me if I'm wrong, Derek White isn't in any of these tiers, right? He's a $1 player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give me Derek White.
I will throw out there, he was on Seth's secret draft targets, which included Peyton Pritchard, Luke Cornett, and Sam Hauser, none of which Seth took. So
How many lies will we be told?
Again, talking about finals experience, we had that last year. I think we saw, before the All-Star break too, Derek White took on a much larger role with the Celtics and just completely excelled, kind of doing absolutely everything you'd want from someone running the show. So if I'm forced to have, a lineup of like Derek White, Buddy Hield, Jarrett Allen, Scotty Barnes and Desmond Bane out there, I feel extremely confident in Derek running that show while Kevin Durant and Shea and, Miles are on the bench.
Love it. And you can't get a forehead bigger than that.
That's true. That's part of his good defense.
Yeah, I think so.
You can't shoot over it.
No, how could you? You're staring at it.
I do love Derek White, and I considered picking him with my last pick, but he's just so streaky where it's like you watch the first 5 minutes and you're like, oh, this is a Derek White game today. Or it's like, oh God, he can't make anything. So
I think I can hide that a little bit though with him coming off the bench.
Obviously,
as your eighth guy.
He's your eighth man. Like, if he can't make anything, then you put Kevin Durant back in.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
In a very real context, Seth, that relates to your team going into not your team in this exercise. Sorry, I mean the actual Celtics IRL. When I am watching a Celtics game and I think to myself, oh, it's the Derek White game, they're probably losing that game. So I feel like that's just important. You know what I mean? Like, I understand what you mean, that he's hot and he's cold and you just hope he has a good game. But if he's the primary one for the Celtics, I feel like they're losing that game.
Yeah.
So I'm criticizing Kyle's pick.
How dare you?
I like the pick. But.
Okay, so my last pick, I have $1 remaining, so I got to go with players who aren't on the list. As Kyle alluded to earlier, I was looking at Harrison Barnes, Harry B, for my last spot. I do think with his finals experience, he's valuable. I also looked at Walker Kessler because sometimes I feel like you need a little bit of a rookie energy on your team, and he's solid as hell. But with my last pick for $1, I'm going to back up Embiid and give him a solid center, and I'm going to pick Wendell Carter Jr.
I really miss him.
Currently shooting, let's see, I think it was 37% from three this year. He also is just solid defensively, and I think will fit into any lineup and be a good backup for Embiid.
I like that. All right, Mr. Irrelevant. I have one pick left, and I have $2. I need a little juice off the bench. So far off the bench, I have Al and Wiggins, who are kind of like my defense guys. I mean, Al did score 30 points in a playoff game last year, but I can't expect that too often. I'm really between Tyler Hero and Paolo Banchero. So I fully expect Paolo Banchero to be much better than Tyler Hero eventually, especially on the defensive end. I'm not really sure if he's much better on the defensive end right now, and he can't shoot. He's so good, man. But I don't know. For this construction,
I mean, what are you looking for? What do you feel like your team needs more?
I need a little juice. I need a little stank face. You know what I mean? That's why I think I have to go Tyler Hero, who famously gave the stank face in the finals. He's been there before. So give me Tyler Hero.
I mean, he's got a rap song about him.
Exactly. I mean, I just need some scoring off the bench, and I just don't know if Paolo's going to hit enough threes for me. All right, well, it looks like that is it for our draft. Let's go over the teams and tell everyone why we hate each other's teams. So my team is looking like we got Giannis at the 5 starting, Booker and Anthony Edwards on the wings, as well as Kevin Huerter, the Red Velvet, Drew Holiday at the point guard. Coming off the bench and maybe starting some games for us, we have Al Horford as our 4-5, and then we have Andrew Wiggins and Tyler Hero. Nick has Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, basically the Celtics, with Joel Embiid at center, who some say is better than Time Lord, so that's a good upgrade. He has Mikal Bridges at the 3, and he has Mike Conley at point guard. His point guard off the bench, Malcolm Brogdon, could start a few games for him. He's going to figure that out. And he has Tobias Harris and Wendell Carter Jr. as his glue guys off the bench there. Kyle has Kevin Durant. You may have heard of him. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander running the point. Desmond Bane and Scotty Barnes on the wing, and Miles Turner holding down the rim. He's got Buddy Hield off the bench, Jared Allen the fro, and Derek White with his forehead as well.
I would like to say I also have the previous play connection between Kevin Durant and Jared Allen when push comes to shove.
And if you think about it, if you add up Derek White's forehead and Jared Allen's hair, that's got to be the biggest hair forehead combo in the league, right? That can't be overlooked.
You might have already hit on this too, but I think would you start Jared Allen in that lineup over Miles Turner? I feel like the shooting off the bench
Yeah, I might have to, honestly.
I think it would be hard.
It has to. It comes out, whatever gets shown in practice is what we're basing our lineup on.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you got to keep Jared and Scotty apart because they both can't shoot, and then maybe Hield and Jared play together.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Seth has Jokic at center and Stephen Curry. You may have heard him as his point guard. He has Marcus Smart at the 2, Josh Giddey on the wing, and then Brook Lopez as his other center. He might start Aaron Gordon, who's coming off the bench, or Franz Wagner, even 2 wings coming off the bench. And he also has young player Devin Vassell as his 3-and-D player off the bench.
Yeah.
So
what do y'all think my best starting lineup would be? I'm thinking I have Smart and Curry as my starting guards for sure.
Yeah.
And then I think I got to start Aaron Gordon at the wing for more defense. Obviously, Jokic is starting. So do I go big and start Brook Lopez and have some rim protection in the starting lineup and then risk that Jokic is like guarding a wing? Or do I just start Giddey as another wing with Aaron Gordon?
I would just start Giddey and Gordon,
Yeah.
I would actually go Steph and Smart in the backcourt. You put Gordon at the 4, Jokic obviously at the 5, and then Wagner. I think that's your best starting 5. Because I think Wagner still enables you to move the ball with Steph and Jokic. And obviously Giddey would too, but Wagner can help you give some size and shore up the defensive end a little bit.
I worry about the defensive end. I mean, Wagner's a good defender, but Gordon's got a little more oomph to him.
I was saying Gordon and
Gordon
over
okay.
Giddey.
He's taking
and
Giddey.
then you bring Giddey off the bench as your playmaker on the second unit.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a decent amount.
Yeah, I think I would just see how it looks in practice, see what the chemistry is like, and whoever wins out the spot between Franz and Giddey can have it. That's my plan.
That's fair. Everyone say who your favorite team is besides your own. Yeah. Let me see here. I do like them all. This is mine.
Probably worse.
That would be my pick outside of my team.
Nice. Not to flatter me like that. I think for me it would be. I like everyone's team.
I would note that Sam's team doesn't have a true center.
Right.
I mean, that may not be a problem because you do have Giannis and Al Horford proven they can guard up, but at the same time.
That's why I think Brook would have been perfect if Seth hadn't stolen him. I thought about taking Aiden, but I really think I just need a shooting center if I'm going to have Giannis. You know what I mean? So, I guess Seth is my favorite just because he had Jokic and Steph. I mean, those are 2 of my favorite players in the league. So, but I don't love what he did with getting the 4th.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I feel
like if we could redo that for you,
if you allow us.
Sure.
I think we keep the connection with the Denver players, and I would have loved Bruce Brown in the Josh Giddey spot.
Yeah. Although Bruce Brown's just worse than Josh Giddey, though.
Offensively, maybe, but I think it's better defensive. So you don't need the offense.
I think you also have Steph and Jokic who can kind of fill that playmaking. But I will say Josh Giddey again. He gives you that the ball handling and the decision making off the bench. But he also, by decision making, I do mean tournaments and a lot of tournaments.
I do think that like Josh Giddey would be a perfect fit on the Warriors, which kind of makes it it makes a lot of sense to have him with Steph. I'm just not sure if the value is quite there at that stage, but I do like your team a lot.
Yeah.
I think we all did great.
Yeah, I like all the teams. Obviously, I feel a lot of allegiance towards Nick because he has 3 Celtics on his team. And it's basically like if you had the Celtics and then you added in Embiid and Mikal Bridges, which I feel like is an incredible recipe for success. But I mean, all of our teams are like obviously better than any real NBA team because there's only 4 of us here.
It's almost like I'm admitting that I think the Celtics are going to win the title this year.
Damn right.
I'd like to say, looking at the last time we did this, I really glowed up. My previous roster the last time we did this, it was Luka Doncic, who somehow didn't get drafted. Really crazy to think about. Yeah. Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Fred VanVleet, and then here's where we get down to it, baby. Robert Covington, Dennis Schroeder, Well, it's $2 at the time. Shout out to Benny. Jeremy Grant, he's blown up a bit though. Good for him. And Warren Dragic for $1. Trying to change.
I mean, this was to win the finals that year, so that you know,
You
it
were,
didn't age well.
you were basically doing what I did with the Celtics, but you're just doing it with the Heat at the time.
Yeah.
100%.
And I would just like to shout out that I picked Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum yet again.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I am very surprised we didn't pick Sabonis in this. I feel like he could fit a lot of our teams very well.
I didn't think about him. I think he was. I mean, he was just too high. He's $4.
It's tough to play Sabonis with a lot of the stars he played because a lot of them need to be surrounded by shooting, and he's not a shooter, especially with someone like Giannis, right?
We can pick LeBron either or Ja. That's really
I just didn't have the money for it. You know, if I had picked LeBron, I had to pick Pat Bev, and we already saw that they can work together. So
I think it's another interesting thing about this exercise is it does tell you, like, right. So if you want to center a team around a John Morant or LeBron James, like singular talents, that works in the real NBA. I think when you are picking the best of the best and you're trying to win a title, you do want, like, if I'm going to pick a $6 player, I want a player who can do multiple things.
yeah,
Right. Because a player at that cost, like, all of them can do something really well. So you can get someone who can do multiple things really well, and then you can fill that back end for specific roles. And so someone like John Morant, I don't know that he fills that role across the board as well as someone like Jason Tatum who's the same price, right? And that's why I think you end up with John Morant or Luka who didn't get picked.
yeah, I agree. You need someone to fit with your first star. So
the real question is who's putting this in 2K and then random having an auto play so we can find out who truly had the best team.
You know, my team wins.
That's
just throwing that out there.
I don't know.
man, it would be tough. What a semifinals this would be. Huh?
I really like all of our teams. I think we should actually do this.
Did we try to do that last time?
Yeah, someone can figure it out.
I think he's looking at me, but he should be looking at Seth.
Seth,
all right.
I'm the only one who doesn't play video games.
Well, you won an Xbox for a batch of bagels, so you should know what to do with it. All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I hope the listeners enjoyed it, especially our friends in Belgium and Matt. Those are the only listeners we have. So, Nick, how was your second appearance on Sport Ball?
Yeah, it was great to be back. It was a good time. I hope to come back more. And I think this is kind of fun. Maybe I'll start listening to your podcast. We'll see.
Not a chance. All right, Kyle, sum up the listeners with something. You know what they like to hear.
Beans, the musical fruit. The more you eat, the better you feel.